Recently, this network broadcast an editorial in which our station, WXYZZ, proposed that foreign cars continue to be imported to promote free trade. As you know, it is the policy of the station to invite qualified spokesmen to speak in rebuttal. Here tonight, with an opposing view against importing foreign cars, is Mr. Floyd, our Turbo, Mr. Turbo.
Good evening. Or as those foreign French guys say, bone jerk. My name is Floyd, our Turbo American. Recently, this cheap Shinola station came out in favor of importing more foreign cars. This raises the question, kiss my universal joint. Americans who buy Japanese cars have very short memories. They forget that terrible December in 1941 when we were bombed at Pearl Bailey. It is not right. During World War II, I was shooting at the Japanese. Now I have to go on the Pirates of the Caribbean with them at Disneyland. I would never go to a Japanese mechanic. I do not trust any man who only comes up to my fender. I cannot trust a guy who won't shake your hand, but will bow down and look at his lap. And now I know why those people are always taking pictures of each other. They can't figure out why they all come out looking the same. Other foreign countries are making cars too. Like France has a car called the Peugeot. I mean, what would a French car run on? Poodle Pee-wee? And what about the Germans? How do you know when you order a car from Germany that they are not smuggling something in under the hood like drugs or sauerkraut? I never liked the Germans since World War II when we had to fight their Luftwaffe and their effeminate armored division, the Pansies. And men, if your wife drives a Volkswagen, you better make sure it is tuned good, because you know what happens when her rabbit dies. Why are we being so nice to these foreigners? Next thing you know, they'll want us to give the Pope a lift to work. A lot of Americans even think foreign banks are better. They put their money in Swiss banks. This is dumb. Every payday, they have to drive all the way to Switzerland to cash their paychecks. And Switzerland is almost as far away as Quebec. Germany is even stupider. They call their money marks. Can you believe that? They name their money after some comedian with a cigar. What do they call their coins? Abbott and Costello? Foreign countries make dumb things like stereos, oil, and cars. But we still make the really important items like bowling balls and petroleum jelly. They say we should drive foreign cars, but they have lower emissions. Donkey donuts. I've lived in this country all of my life, and I'll emit as much as I want. These tiny foreign cars are unsafe. I told my wife something might happen if I roll over. And she said, Floyd, we've been married 23 years. Nothing ever happened when you rolled over. I like big American cars that have bodies by Eddie Fisher. You can floor the gas pedal and cream a bunch of joggers. 4 on the floor and 12 on the street. We need big cars. Who wants to go to a funeral procession and see Grandpa strapped to the top of a Honda Civic? I mean, if I did buy a small car, I would get an American compact. So what if they catch on fire? What could be more romantic on a winter night than sitting around with your sweetheart around a roaring Pinto? And the president tells us not to drive, to use mass transit. Ever take a dead deer on a bus? Time you get it home, it's all covered with graffiti. Detroit wants us to compete with the foreigners. Why don't they pay better salaries to their employees? Chrysler only gives Frank Sinatra $1 a year. Out of that, how do they expect Frank to pay for his tuxedos and his broads? In conclusion, Americans should not take a back seat to the Japanese. We should try for #1 on the highway. I do. After my wife checks, the cops aren't looking. So sorry, Nara, which means in Japanese, so long. I'm going home to get my sake hot.
Welcome back.
May I remind you that this is not our last show.
No.
This is just the
absolutely
last
not.
of the 90-minute version.
That's right.
Because Mr. Turbo did a no-no word,
Yes, well,
and Mr. Turbo did a no-no gesture.
Mr. Turbo gets carried away.
Yes. Mr. Turbo acted like there'll be no more Mr. Turbos.
He's an insensitive man. He gets carried away.